Back to tonight, and it's 9:30.
Hello again, Nigel Ogden here with the Organist Entertains. Now, as some of you may have noticed in the Radio Times, this week is rather a special one for me because I've actually been presenting this programme for the past 10 years, although it certainly doesn't seem that long. You wouldn't believe I started when I was 11, would you? No, I do confess that is not strictly accurate. Anyway, bearing all that in mind, my kindly producer, Mr. McDowell, said he thought it was high time I did some real work for a change, so he's decided it's up to me to provide all the music on tonight's show. Now, I know that that's a lot to ask you to put up with, but I do hope you'll at least find the variety of music and instruments enjoyable during the next 25 minutes. I'm starting with a recording I made in 1983 on one of the most effective theatre organs for its size I've ever played, the 3-manual 8-rank Christi of the Astra Theatre in Llandudno. Sadly, the theatre is no more, but the organ is in storage awaiting a new home. It really was a powerful 8-ranker in that building, as you'll hopefully hear now in this version of I'm Beginning to See the Light, and Not Before Time, I Hear You Cry. the wonderful Astra Theatre Llandudno, Christi, as it sounded in '83. Now, I suppose as far as the concert circuit is concerned in this country, I'm mainly known as a theatre organist, but whenever the opportunity arises, I love playing electronics and also church, cathedral or concert organs. The BBC has two very fine Compton straight organs in London, and if any of you would like the rare opportunity of hearing the four-manual instrument in the Concert Hall of Broadcasting House, I'll be playing a concert there on the evening of the 24th, that's a week tomorrow. However, this next item was recorded on the smaller but equally superb three-manual Compton in our studios at Maida Vale. And as it's St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, this would seem to be quite an appropriate piece, an Irish souvenir. An Irish souvenir played on our BBC Maida Vale, Compton. The BBC have also had 3 theatre organs, of course. I missed out on the first by some considerable time, as it only lasted from 1936 until 1940, thanks to Mr. Hitler. The second, Reginald Fort's mighty 5-manual Moller, I actually played at the tender age of 8 during a private visit with my father to see Sandy Macpherson just before the organ was sold in 1963. But my longest association was with BBC Theatre Organ number 3, the 3-manual Wurlitzer, which came from Blackpool's Empress Ballroom and which was installed in our Playhouse studios here in Manchester for almost 20 years. Well, it's now in the process of being added to the existing Wurlitzer in the Worthing Assembly Hall, but here's a number I recorded on it a few years ago, Bluesette. Bluesette and the ex-BBC Wurlitzer. Well, not very far from my home is the Plaza Theatre in Stockport, one of the few theatres in the country with the organ still in situ. Well, not only is it still there, this magnificent 3-manual 12-rank Compton is kept in superb condition. And in addition to occasional concerts, it's also played every week for the bingo patrons, the theatre now being a Mecca casino. Well, I made some recordings there recently for a cassette, soon to be released by the Cinema Organ Society, but I thought I'd play you a preview track this evening. It's a piece composed by one of the great theatre organ names of years gone by, who was also a fine all-round musician and a prolific composer, Frederick Curzon, and it carries the rather quaint title, Dance of an Ostracised Imp. Frederick Curzon's Dance of an Ostracised Imp, and the superb Plaza Stockport, Compton. Well, the concert list this week is, to use what I believe is the current term, mega. So let's have it. American organist Jim Riggs is still touring the country, and here are his dates for the coming week. Tomorrow evening at 7 and on Sunday at 2:30 he'll be at the New Victoria Centre, Howdenley Weir. Next Wednesday the 21st at 8 p.m. at the Plough Great Munden, and at 7:30 on Friday the 23rd at the South Bank Polytechnic in London. Back to tomorrow evening, and 3 more concerts at 7:30. At the Bluecoat School Oldham, Phil Kelsall. At North Street Congregational Church in Taunton, Dudley Savage. And a charity concert at Ossett Town Hall with Ken Stroud, Tony Pegler and Andy Smith joining forces. A busy weekend for Dudley Savage because he'll be at the Odeon Western Supermare at 1:30 on Sunday the 18th, and there are no less than 5 shows at 2:30 on Sunday. At Chorley Town Hall, Jean Martin. At the Municipal Hall, Eston, William Davis. Playing the City School, Sheffield Compton, will be Jeff Stevenson. At the Regal Oswestry, Brian Sharp. And at Burton-on-Trent Town Hall, Mike Slater. At 2:45 on Sunday at the Castle Hill Church, Ipswich, Alec Leader. And finally, please note that Howard Beaumont's concert on Sunday at the Gordon Craig Theatre, Stevenage, has had to be altered to 11 a.m. and not 3 p.m. as advertised. Well, to end the show, I'd like to play an instrument I never know whether to call a theatre organ or a concert organ. I suppose really it's both. It's the magnificent 4-manual Compton installed in the Pavilion Theatre, Bournemouth, way back in 1929. Well, thanks to a great deal of voluntary work over recent years by a small but very dedicated group, the organ is slowly being restored to its former glory, and it's always a real joy to play an instrument such as this in the place for which it was originally intended. I love the music of Roger Quilter, and so here's the very majestic March of St. George from the children's musical play Where the Rainbow Ends. The March of St George by Roger Quilter, played by yours truly on the organ of the Pavilion, Bournemouth. And that's it. Thanks very much for sharing my celebration of 10 years in the Organist Entertains driving seat. I hope it's not been too painful for you. It's certainly been a thoroughly enjoyable decade for me, and I shall continue to serve you for as long as it's possible. Before I go, I must also say a big thank you to all those of you who've written to me over the years. It really is great to hear from you. Well, I'll be back again at 9:02 next Friday. In the meantime, from producer Bob McDowell and me, Nigel Ogden, all the best, and bye for now.
Congratulations, Nigel, and best wishes for the next 10 years. Rather more immediately, we look forward to seeing you again next week.